The salesperson of the year is Jacob. The last few months have been amazing for him. He's been closing deal after deal and getting paid great commissions. And now, this amazing announcement. Jacob is driving home and is really happy about his achievement. He stops in the petrol station to top up his car. And there he sees something that makes his jaw drop. It's a Ferrari, Jacob's dream car. While Jacob is doing great at his work, he is nowhere near being able to afford a Ferrari in the near future. While driving home, he starts to rethink some things in his life. When he arrives, he can't stop thinking about how much he would like to own his dream car. Jacob sits down and really thinks about his goals for this year and further beyond in his life. This year, Jacob wanted to become a manager of his sales department. He was really close to achieving his goal, but one of his colleagues had more experience in managing a team. But Jacob is not too sad about it because he became the salesperson of the year in his department. And Jacob's long-term goal is to make 6 figures, or more than $100,000 per year. Jacob thinks about how he has been increasing his income over the years. When he first started, he was making $30,000 per year. But as he became more experienced, his income has been steadily growing. He also thinks about how far other employees who've worked with the company for 15 or 20 years have progressed, and how much other top-earning colleagues are making. He realizes that while he is employed by someone else, he will be always limiting his income potential. Every time he gets a $1,000 commission, the company gets a client worth $20,000 or even more. This is when he comes to the conclusion that he should start his own business. He has been crafting his sales skills for almost a decade, so it only makes sense to start a consulting business where Jacob will teach others how to make more sales. The next step is to put together a business plan. So little by little, Jacob starts finding spare moments of time to build his business from the ground up. Sometimes he sends some emails during work hours, and sometimes he burns the midnight oil to move things forward. A few weeks go by and he realizes how much time it takes to get even basic things in pace. Progress is slow, mainly due to the fact that his available time is quite limited. Jacob also realizes that after long days at work, he is exhausted. So he makes a decision to start waking up early to invest his most productive time in his business. This, of course, improves the situation, but it's still hard work. About a year later, Jacob is still struggling with getting his business off the ground. When any of his friends ask him about how the things are going, he usually says that his consulting business is just a side hustle and nothing serious. He starts limiting the amount of time he invests in building his business so that he's protected in case he can't get it to work. Occasionally, Jacob wishes that he could leave his day job to give 100% of his focus to his own business. But he doesn't have any savings. While Jacob has been earning more and more money, he has also increased his expenses. Now, his living expenses are high and demand him to keep working hard. He feels kind of stuck in the money trap. Despite this, he has to keep trying if he wants to succeed with his own business. Another thing that Jacob is struggling with is the fact that he doesn't fully believe in himself. He is confident when selling other people's products, but he becomes skeptical when he has to sell his own skills. And while being conservative with the results that he could deliver, he is struggling to get clients for his own business. One of his friends suggests Jacob get a coach that would keep him accountable. That sounds like a great idea, and Jacob hires an accountability coach. He instantly sees the increase in his productivity and motivation. He has a weekly call with a coach to check in on his progress. But when things are getting tough and Jacob falls behind the schedule, he decides to stop working with a coach. While Jacob is trying to work on his consulting business, he's starting to lose his focus at his work. This, of course, has its own consequences, as part of his income is dependent on his performance. Less deals he closes, less money he earns. He is also being questioned by his boss about why he is closing so few deals compared to his performance in the past. This makes him shift his focus back to his full-time job so that he doesn't lose it. Jacob is slowly and unwillingly giving up his idea about his own business. A few months later, his performance is back and he's closing deals again. Of course, he is not entirely happy that he failed to get his own company off the ground. But what can he do, he thinks to himself. He just has to put his head down, work hard, and hope that in the future, things will get better. Jacob is driving home and he stops in the petrol station. And there it is again, in its full beauty. His dream car, the Ferrari. Jacob feels the rush of the adrenaline and instant motivation. He thinks to himself that there must be a way for him to make things work. In that moment, he decides to give it another try. This time, he decides to study other successful people. He reads some books and autobiographies on successful people. And after some time, he comes to the conclusion that he has not been fully committed to his goal. Jacob really needs to change his mindset from treating his own business as a side project to making it his main priority. He has to commit to it, otherwise things will never work out. The first thing he does is he announces to some of his closest friends that his main goal will now be his consulting business. Of course, they don't hesitate to mention that Jacob recently failed in his attempts, but Jacob is not affected by their skepticism. He also gets in touch with an accountability coach, apologizes for his disappearance, and asks to resume the coaching. But the biggest step he takes is the decision to go from full-time employment to part-time. His boss doesn't like it, but eventually he accepts Jacob's decision. This massive move requires Jacob to move out of his house and rent a smaller apartment further out of town. It's a scary thing to do, but he really needs to change something in his life. Once everything is set up, it's time to get to work. Jacob spends most of the time on the phone, reaching out to business owners and offering his services. It's hard work at the beginning because he doesn't have a well-known brand that he's working for. He ends up doing some free training for a company to get testimonials for his business. Jacob does a great job and he is able to double the company's sales in the first 30 days. This company became Jacob's first big client, and from there on, Jacob's consulting business really started to grow. About 6 months after Jacob started his second attempt at his own business, he's making enough money to quit his part-time job. This really helped him to put even more effort in growing his consulting business and his income. Later, Jacob also starts a YouTube channel to share his knowledge, and while most of the videos are related to sales training, he also shares his real-life experiences. In one particular video, he describes the situation he was stuck in. "A few years ago, I wanted to start my own business, but no matter what I did, it wasn't working out. Now, looking back, I can see why. It was simply because I treated my business as a side project. So don't lie to yourself. If you want to achieve anything in your life, then you have to make it the most important priority." Over time, Jacob's consulting business has grown and things are going well. He's hired multiple people who now work for him. Jacob succeeded because he changed his mindset from thinking about his own business as a side project to the most important thing in his life. In the end, Jacob bought his dream car, his own brand new Ferrari.